This is the BBC.
Hello, welcome to Comedy of the Week. As you know, here at Comedy of the Week, we do everything we can to ensure that you have the best comedy that is physically possible. And where, my weekers, has the best comedy been happening? Why, it's of course been condensed into the milk pot of joy that is the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, in the beautiful, yet damp Edinburgh. Were you there? Who did you see? Did you enjoy it? How many buns did you eat? I ate a raspberry bun every single day I was in Edinburgh this year, and it did make me question if the reason I was going every year was because it contained my favourite bun shop. I questioned it, and then I realised travelling for buns was the only reason to travel. So, because we are obsessed with not just buns, RuPaul and positive affirmations, we have tracked down Radio 4 Grand Dames, Steve Punt and Hugh Dennis, who are going to introduce this week's Comedy of the Week. It's a special Now show all the way from the capital of the Enlightenment and now comedy, Edinburgh. So here they are with an exclusive introduction. That's how much we care about your comedy. We were willing to distract two very talented and famous performers and force them to introduce their own show. We want exclusive and we will get it. When we want buns, we get them. We are feeling a little power crazed right now because, we'll be honest, we want a sugar high. While we crash slowly and joyfully back down, here are Steve and Hugh to introduce the Now Show.
Thank you, Cariad. It's great to be on the Comedy of the Week.
The Comedy of the Week
Podcast. We're backstage and people are sound checking here at the BBC site at the Edinburgh Fringe.
The Edinburgh Fringe.
Yep. And we're about to record a special edition of The Now Show. You going to say that as well?
No, I thought I'd leave that for later.
Great. OK. So do you want to tell them what the show is?
Yeah. The Now Show is a BBC Radio 4 comedy broadcast since 1998, which satirises the week's news in a mixture of stand-up, sketches and songs, citation needed.
Did you read that off Wikipedia?
Maybe.
On the show, we've got Luke Kempner, Gemma Arrowsmith, Loyiso Gola, Fern Brady, Tommy Sheppard and Doug Anthony All-Stars, as well as myself, Steve Punt and Hugh Dennis.
Hugh Dennis.
Yes. That's The Now Show.
The Now Show.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Steve Punt.
And I'm Hugh Dennis.
We're here at the BBC stage in Edinburgh, and with us are Fern Brady, Loyiso Gola, Doug Anthony All-Stars, Gemma Arrowsmith, Luke Kempner, and this is...
The Now Show!
Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to The Now Show from the Edinburgh Festival Fringe.
And what an event it is for the city. With over 50,000 performances of 3,000 shows in 294 venues, there are quite literally thousands of reasons for residents to go on holiday and rent their flat out for a month.
Yes, every spare room, guest house and student flat is pressed into service. I'm staying at a slightly dodgy B&B where the sheets have holes in them. Either it's a bit run down and cheap or they've had some white supremacists up here for the lols. And we're not in a studio, we're in this fabulous BBC tent.
Actually, all BBC studios are tents from now on, so they can keep paying Chris Evans and John Humphreys. Honestly, I do think the tent is second-hand anyway, because it smells slightly of cake. And there's a Paul Hollywood-sized rip in the side where he slashed his way out. Anyway, welcome to the show, although we're on a different day to usual, so don't forget, it's not the weekend yet, and you do have to go to work tomorrow.
Yes, unless, of course, you work at the White House, in which case you may well have been fired since we've been on air. We are, though, in our usual time slot of 6:30, and that's for any Westminster MPs listening, so they've had half an hour to stop sobbing after the 6 o'clock news didn't start with Big Ben.
Yeah. Except, of course, it did, because they've got a recording of it and no one cares. And frankly, the sight of grown men crying over a clock makes it all the nicer to be 400 miles away here in Edinburgh. It's great. It's great to be here again. Like so many performers and writers, we began our career here many years ago.
Yeah, and we could possibly be finishing it here in about 28 minutes. If these jokes don't work. Although I'm not worried about that, of course, because we're in Scotland. So if we don't get the result we're after, we're just going to keep doing it again and again until we get the result we want.
Yeah, let's not get into that because it's a bit too touchy. But Indie Ref 2 is like a late-night kebab. It's not on the table any longer, but it's likely to come back up again.
Now, of course, the Edinburgh Fringe isn't just about comedy. There are artists, writers, authors, musicians, stimulating and creative people from all over the world, and Alex Salmond. And, of course, Every night there's also the sounds of the tattoo.
Which is great, especially this year, because with every explosion you can play the fun guessing game.
Firework or Kim Jong-un's preemptive strike?
Yeah, I get nervous every time they show the Edinburgh tattoo on telly in case American TV picks it up and the president assumes it's live footage from North Korea.
Wow, Pyongyang has way more cashmere shops than I thought it did.
Yes, it's not been a great week for the Donald. On Monday, millions of Americans stopped to watch a once-in-a-lifetime celestial spectacle as the moon passed in front of the sun. And you may have seen the picture of the president and his wife wearing their eclipse glasses and staring upwards. What you couldn't hear was what he was saying.
Melania, when does the movie start?
Here in Scotland, many people said they didn't understand why there was so much fuss over the sun disappearing for 2 minutes. It's Edinburgh in August. The sun can disappear for weeks on end. No one makes all this fuss.
Aside from the eclipse, there are also growing battles over the removal of controversial statues. One was recently ripped down here in Edinburgh.
Yes, turned out to be a street performer. The whole furore, of course, was prompted by a plan in the US to remove a statue of Robert E. Lee.
Now, for those of you who don't know who he was, Robert E. Lee was the electronic version of Robert Lee. He was a Confederate Civil War general. But all historical monuments are now coming under scrutiny and in danger of disappearing suddenly overnight. Frankly, Greyfriars Bobby is bricking himself.
Now, of course, here in Edinburgh at the festival, it's very easy to get into a bit of a bubble. It is entirely possible that fringe goers have missed out on recent news out in the wider world. Nicola Sturgeon has said this week that she wishes the SNP had a different name to their party, rather in contrast to Ruth Davidson, who many voters wish had a different party to her name.
I'm never quite sure how Ruth Davidson is a Conservative. Young, gay, Remain-supporting Scotswoman joined same party as Jacob Rees-Mogg. It's like finding that Pocahontas and Darth Vader were at school together. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt and Professor Stephen Hawking have been in a battle of words this month regarding Brexit.
Yes, now you'd have to say that Jeremy Hunt seems pretty fearless in lining himself up against things that polls consistently show the public like and support. First, hospital doctors and nurses, now Stephen Hawking. It wouldn't surprise me if I turned on the news tomorrow and heard...
Tonight's top story. Jeremy Hunt has announced that he intends to give Sir David Attenborough a wedgie.
And here, heading purposefully towards me, is Jeremy Hunt, easily recognisable from the NHS badge he's wearing ironically on his jacket. And as he moves behind me, I can feel he has got me by my undies. He takes a tight grip and prepares the characteristic manoeuvre. Oh, goodness me, that's right up there.
All good things must come to an end, of course, and as this year's festival draws to a close, we have to face the knowledge that Theresa May has finally come back from her holiday and everything will start again.
Yes, and to make things worse, she went on holiday to Switzerland, a country whose national symbol is the cuckoo clock. Imagine being so pathetic that your national pride rests on the noise a timepiece makes when it strikes the hour. And even worse, she went on a walking holiday. And the last time she did that, she decided to hold an election, the worst decision made on an outdoor holiday since Deliverance.
I imagine the whole of her cabinet are now panicking, because for her, walking up mountains is an even riskier pastime than usual.
999 emergency, what service do you require?
Mountain rescue, quick!
OK, can I ask what the situation is?
It's my wife. She's considering an election.
OK, try and stay calm. We're going to send out a helicopter.
Please, hurry. She's talking about focusing on her leadership qualities.
And the vultures are still circling. There is a rumour that Jacob Rees-Mogg is about to launch a leadership bid. Not sure of the details, but I think he's standing against Disraeli. You've got to wonder how he would react to becoming Prime Minister.
Vede, vidi, vici.
3 of his children there. It probably won't happen, of course, that he would replace May, but if it did, that would leave us with an ex-party leader at a loose end in August. She could do a show at the Fringe, but surely no self-respecting ex-party leader would do that. Thank you very much.
Now, in our next guest's show publicity, it says, comedian Fern Brady has been described as bold, whip-smart and unabashedly honest. Her show, Suffer Fools, is currently storming the festival. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Fern Brady!
Hiya. Before doing a show in Edinburgh, I like to take it to different parts of the UK to try out the material. And I went to Belfast recently, which, as a young person, is an amazing way to experience what 1970s Britain was like. And I got a taxi to the show, and I told the taxi driver what my job was. I said, I'm a comedian. And he went, a female comedian? I said, yeah, I know they're still illegal here in the state of Gilead. Because we have the same problem in Scotland. That's why I don't live here anymore. I used to walk on stage when I started doing comedy here, and people would see I was a woman very early on. And they would just fold their arms, devastated, as if to go, why is the stripper talking? So the taxi driver, he was one of those. He said to me, in Northern Ireland, all our females are comedians. Now, you never meet a man that calls women females and go to yourself, he's going to have really progressive views. But he went to himself, I just made a great joke, so I'm going to repeat it to her till she acknowledges me. In Northern Ireland, all our females are comedians. I went, yeah, my favourite one is the character act you have who dresses like a butch lesbian while in charge of one of the most homophobic political parties in the UK. Oh, she's my favourite. And I love when, because they don't have gay marriage in Northern Ireland, and I like when people have to make up fictional reasons to justify their homophobia, because no one can ever say the actual reason for being homophobic, which is, I really want to try gay sex. Because all homophobes are gay in the end, it's just a waiting game. You have to make up fictional reasons like, we can't have gay marriage in Northern Ireland because it'd ruin the definition of marriage. That's fine, but straight people redefine marriage every day. My father redefined marriage when he married Julie from Milton Keynes, who isn't my mum. And I'd rather watch men kissing in the street or listen to lesbians talking about horoscopes as if they're real than be a bridesmaid at that horror show again. This is another thing more overt homophobes will say. We can't have gay marriage because it looks stupid to have a man and a man stood at the altar. Well, if I was allowed to legalise against every couple that disgusted me willy-nilly in the street, we would be here all day. Now, I was always disgusted by couples where the woman is significantly taller than the man. I know this is taboo to say in Scotland, where I get off the train and feel like I'm in Gulliver's Travels. But I got a problem with tally smally couples, right? I think they look stupid together. I think it's against nature and God's wish for us as a species. Like a hypocrite, I now go out with a teeny tiny Irish man. He's boob height, shoulder height when he has his wee walking boots on. And I love him loads. I came home from Belfast. I'd missed him so much. I opened the door to him and I couldn't help it, man. I just picked him up and I spun him round in the air. His little legs went flying. He hates when I do that. He says it's emasculating. Put me down! Put me down! Why? I thought tiny Irishmen were going to make all my wishes come true. Not refuse to marry me because I have a toxic credit rating. I have an undeserved reputation on the comedy circuit for being cold-hearted and aloof, but I'm actually saving up all my love and channeling it into that one wee Irish man. Sometimes I love him so much that I'll look into his sleeping face and I'll think how sad I'd be if he died. Because that's what love is. It's not sexual jealousy or shared Facebook accounts. Who are those psychopaths? It's just looking into the sleeping face of another and going, I hope I die first. So I'll stare at his face and I'll picture him dying. And then I picture the amazing weight loss that grief would bring. She was such an elegant widow. So I get these thoughts about my boyfriend. The more I love him, I'll be stroking his face when he's asleep. Then my brain goes, what if your thumbs just slipped into his eyeballs the now? The damage would be irreparable. And the nice thing about being in a long-term relationship is sometimes he opens his eyes and goes, are you thinking about pushing your thumbs into my eyeballs again? Yeah. Go back to sleep. I suppose we will eventually get married, and the DUP will be really pleased because I will uphold that sacred institution till the day that I die, or the day he goes blind. I've been Fern Brady. See you later.
So, with Alex Salmon doing a show here at the Fringe, the lines between comedy and politics seem to be blurring. And while Salmon has only recently turned to entertainment, we thought we would invite someone onto the show who has been at it for ages.
So, please welcome the founder of the Stand Comedy Club here in Edinburgh, who doubles as SNP MP for Edinburgh East, Tommy Sheppard.
Hello. Welcome. You know, we all love the festival and it's hugely popular and all the rest of it. Is it good for Edinburgh?
Yeah, I think it's undeniably good for Edinburgh. I mean, it's good for the city's reputation. If you own a bar or restaurant or rent out your flat, it's good for the economy. But at the same time, there's many thousands of people that I represent a few miles away from here who find it a real pain in the arse, to be honest, because it just makes, it makes life a lot more difficult for a short period of time. But by and large, they suffer it. I mean, one of the problems is, of course, you know, you talked about the Fringe, which is a big festival, huge, but of course, we have other festivals taking place at the same time. I mean, the Military Tattoo is a major tourist draw and sees the sales of tartan rugs spike every year. Yeah. And the International Festival is huge, and we've one of the biggest book festivals. And for some reason unknown to me, we put them all in the same 3-week period. So actually, if we were to spread them out a little bit more, we could have a summer season. Well, I use the word summer advisedly, but we could have a season from June to September where the city would be less congested and overall more people would come and people who live here would get more choice and see more things.
I love. So I did like the fact that you said that the festival's a pain in the arse and someone almost applauded, and yet you're here. It's a love-hate double-edged thing, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. You founded the Stand. So, as an aficionado, are you slightly irritated by the standard of comedy in the House of Commons? You know, to the extent that, you know, there is this sort of guffawing laughter whenever somebody makes a party political point.
People making animal noises and stuff, it's weird, to be honest. And I don't think it gives a very good impression of our democracy. But, I mean, Prime Minister's Question Time in particular is just absolutely useless in terms of trying to hold anyone to account. It is purely a little theatrical entertainment spectacle. And I think it's rubbish, actually, when people try to make jokes and crowbar that into their speech and stuff. And the best stuff, I suppose, really, like a live show as well, the best stuff is the stuff that just happens because it's improvised and it's of the moment.
Well, that's good, because we've got a comedy quiz for you now. Given your crossover between politics and entertainment, we wondered if you might try and identify a few moments where politics and entertainment collided.
First question. Who is this and what's going on?
So, go on, tell us about your experience. You might be even offering to flush your loo as well, I gather.
Well...
Name that voice.
Well, there's a second clip if you're struggling.
OK, go on then, Lorraine. We're waiting with bated breath.
OK.
I think that wins the flush of the day, Lorraine.
Jeremy Vine, is it? No?
Well, is it? No.
It is the Jeremy Vine Show.
We speak simultaneously sometimes.
It's the Jeremy Vine Show, but it's a stand-in presenter on the Jeremy Vine Show.
Oh, God, it's a Miliband. Oh, Ed Miliband. Right. It's Ed Miliband, isn't it?
Yes. It is Ed Miliband, yes.
We can edit that so it looks like you know what you're talking about.
Next up, who is this and what is going on here?
Does my face look bothered, though?
No, are you messing with my mind?
Face bothered? I ain't bothered.
It's somebody trying to do a Catherine Tate sketch.
It is,
but,
yeah. He was quite an important person at one point. His initials were the same as a major disease.
It was Tony Blair.
It was Tony Blair. He did it on Red Nose Day. He didn't wear a red nose in a sketch because he was always wary to do anything that made his nose look larger.
Finally, and this is an interesting one because it's not... There's not a lot of words involved here, but you may be able to identify what is going on here.
Okay,
absolutely brilliant face there, listeners. I have to say.
I'll give you a clue. It was on Strictly, and this was someone who was quite well known. In his time. He was a Labour politician. He was on Strictly. He's married to another Labour politician who is still a Labour politician.
His name is Ed. It was indeed Ed.
Yeah. Well done.
Very good. A commendably poor knowledge of crap popular entertainment there. So very good. Thank you very much indeed, Tommy Sheppard.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, next is the winner of the Comics' Choice Award and two-time Emmy nominee, one of South Africa's most loved comedians. Making his Now Show debut, it's Loyiso Gola.
I'm not interested in your politics much. I find it like you whinge a lot. Your politics are fine, calm down. That's what I say, because you're not dealing with rock and roll stuff. Like, I'm from South Africa. We're dealing with real rock and roll stuff. Like, our president was facing 763 charges of corruption before he became the head of state. Like, you got to break the law every day for 2 years to accumulate that amount of charges. So excuse me that I don't care what you guys are up to at this particular moment. I'm a bit pressed with bigger issues. I think politics is a particularly subjective issue, the same way you guys don't care what's happening in Bulgaria. It's the same way I don't care what's happening here. But I'll let you know that our president, who we tried to impeach last week, but he won, President Jacob Zuma, he hired a minister of safety and security. The guy's in charge of the country's secret and the country's safety. His wife was selling crack. And he didn't know. But if there is someone here from UKIP, I just want to say that at the end of the festival, I will go home. I'll go home. You happy? I want you to enjoy the show without thinking what's going to happen to me at the end of the festival. I will go home. I will be so far from Edinburgh. It'll be... Listen, if this is your summer, I'm not interested. I don't care. I do think you vote a lot. The last referendum we had in South Africa was in 1990, and you know what the issue at hand was? Whether apartheid should be abolished or not. But the crazy thing is, only white people were allowed to vote. Woo! That's like letting your kids vote on bedtime. No. I moved to the UK temporarily for comedy purposes, to tell jokes. People always go, why don't you go to New York to tell jokes? That's like the capital of stand-up comedy. And I go, well, in America, they still shoot black people. So I'm in Britain for safety reasons. I appreciate you British people, because you haven't shot black people in about 100 years now. Too soon? Okay, my bad. I'm not going to America at all, because I'm in America. I freak out when I see the police, man. I freak out. Like, my brain goes, act normal, the cops are watching. Then I'm like, yeah, but I am acting normal. But act more normal than normal. And I'm walking around like, ah! Cops are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm acting normal! America's in a bit of a pickle, right? Don't you think? Donald Trump is weird. He plays too much golf. If you play golf, it's not a real sport. Get over yourself. It's not a real sport. Like, I just believe if a fat person can beat you at a sport, it's not a real sport. It's not a real thing. Like, you know, I'm not saying fat people shouldn't play sport. I'm just saying you shouldn't win. You're fat. Get out of here. So I think Donald Trump's, he scares me a lot. I'm freaked out with Donald Trump. But I'm going to leave you with the message. And this is the one conflict in the world that everyone's kind of paranoid about. The Middle East, Israel, Palestine. Very, very volatile situation. They have more in common than they know. Muslim people and Jewish people have more in common than they know. For instance, they both don't eat pork. That's a crazy thing, right? That's what they have in common. They both don't eat pork, which got me thinking, maybe there's something in pork that calms you down. Like, have a pork chop and a joint, relax. You guys have been really fun. Good night. Take care. Bye.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, next up, a legendary Australian band who started out in 1987 as buskers. Someone found some spare change, they became Fringe legends, and now they're back. Please welcome Doug Anthony All-Stars.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. It's an absolute honour and privilege to be here. We are the Doug Anthony All-Stars. We did come to this beautiful fair city in 1987 for the first time. And we are from Australia, ladies and gentlemen. A beautiful country. A beautiful country. At the moment, though, our country is divided because we're having a plebiscite about same-sex unions. We ourselves, I must say, in the yes camp. Yes for same-sex unions. Because we believe in love and understanding and tolerance for all peoples, ladies and gentlemen. When we first came to Edinburgh, we wrote this song 30 years ago because we knew one day it would come to the aid of our people in trouble. This is a song that says, yes, love is where you find it, wherever that may be. This is the Sailor's Arms. I met her in the Sailor's Arms, a bar down by the docks, where prostitutes and deviants and fellas wearing frocks went there to drown my sorrow, my misery and pain. With 14 malted pills and a pint of heavy ale. Then I saw this girl across the way who was fumbling through the wine. So I begged her, come on over, spend some time. She spilled her life before me, she seemed to understand. Although she was a girl, we were talking man to man. For love is where you find it, wherever that may be. For me it was in the Sailor's Arms at 3:25. There's something strange about her I can't put my finger on. But I want to tell the world that she's the one. She's the one. I want to tell the world that she's the one. Wang, 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 wang. She strolled up to the toilets, she strolled into the gents. I asked her why she did it, why she'd gone to pay the rent. We unwrestled and I lost, she beat me with a spike. She told me silly jokes that were quite unladylike. It was 4 in the morning and through the smoky haze I could have been mistaken, but she needed to shave. For love is where you find it, wherever that may be. For me it was in the Sailor's Arms with a better man than me. Her husky voice seduced me, my heart was in a mess. I sat upon her knee as something twitched beneath her dress. There's something more than knees beneath her dress. Wang, 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 wang. I was confused when she told me, when she said her name was Ken. Ken? Well, if I had suspicions, Lord, I should have had him then. I ran my fingers through her wig, she lightly stroked my hair. She said she was a man.
What? Oh, she said she was a man?
Yes, she said she was a man.
What did you say?
I told her I don't care. I don't care. For love is where you find it, wherever that may be. For me it was in a hopper bin with my trousers round my knees. There's something strange about her I just put my finger on. And I want to tell the world that she's the one. He's the one. I want to tell the world that we're the ones. We're off to Ireland to get married. The Republic.
Yeah.
Thank you, and you can catch the Doug Anthony All-Stars every night at the Fringe at Pleasance Courtyard or playing London's Shepherd's Bush Empire on Friday the 1st of September.
Now, if you've never been to the Edinburgh Fringe, everything lasts about an hour. It might be an hour that changes your life, it might be an hour of your life you never get back. So we have asked our audience what's the best or the worst hour they have ever spent.
What's the best hour you've spent? Between 16.50 and 17.50 on the 21st of May 2016, Hibs won the Scottish Cup. Worst day you've ever spent? Any part of the previous 5 Scottish Cup finals.
What's the worst day you've spent waiting for a tram in Edinburgh?
What is the worst hour you've ever spent? Coming to terms with the fact that Lidl is now better than M&S. It turned my world upside down.
Turned your world upside down. Excellent. So that's about it, apart from pointing out that we're back in November with fewer plugs but more jokes. Till then, goodbye.
Bye. You've been listening to The Now Show at the Fringe, starring Steve Punt, Hugh Dennis, Fern Brady, Loyiso Gola, Luke Kempner, Gemma Arrowsmith, Tommy Sheppard and the Doug Anthony All-Stars. It was written by the cast with additional material from Gareth Gwynn, Jack Bernhardt, Jenny Laville, Robin Morgan and Stuart Mitchell. The producer was Adnan Ahmed. It was a BBC Studios production.
Oh, wow.
Standing ovation again.
Lovely of them.
Them? I think you mean him. There was one person there.
Still counts?
Yeah, still counts.
If you'd like more comedy, why not subscribe to the Friday Night Comedy podcast?
Thank you, sir.
The lovely Steve Punt and Hugh Dennis there. In Edinburgh. If you're not there, go now. Well, go next year. It's basically finished. If you can't wait 300 and something days to get your Edinburgh fix, guess what? We will be back next week with more comedy from there, with Fresh from the Fringe. And you can always listen to the Funny from the Fringe podcast as well for more interviews, games and daftness with lovely Phil Ellis. You've been listening to Comedy of the Week podcast. Get in touch with us using the hashing tag Comedy of the Week. Subscribe to Comedy of the Week on your preferred podcast app. And just generally make sure there's plenty of comedy in your week. If you don't have at least 3 comedies in your week, you are at risk of sadness and or glue ear. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. Be nice to yourself. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy. And, guys, there's always buns. Just have a bun. You're going to feel better. Bye.
Hi, I'm Mark Watson. I'm here to tell you about the BBC New Comedy Award final, which you can watch right now on BBC iPlayer. 6 of the best new acts in the UK battle it out to be crowned winner. Past finalists include Peter Kay, Sarah Millican and Lee Mack. You probably should check it out. Radio 4 presents the BBC New Comedy Award 2017 on BBC iPlayer now.